So I get asked a lot in the comment sections, how do we solve the current situation we're in? How do we prevent in future a government like we have at the minute getting into power and basically just doing what it likes and oppressing the people, suppressing our freedom of speech and our freedom of expression, creating a two-tier society? How do we stop future governments from doing this? Well, we have to have a similar model to what America's got, and I don't mean copy it exactly. I mean that we need something like the First Amendment that enshrines free speech and free expression in law. It should be protected by law, in my opinion. You should be able to say anything you like as long as you're not inciting violence or making threats of violence towards people. Everything else should be allowed. We should have something similar to the Second Amendment that protects the First Amendment and gives us guarantees that should a government turn tyrannical, that we have the legal ability to overthrow that government and legally and replace it with a democratic government. I firmly believe this. This is what we need. We need a written constitution, a Bill of Rights in this country, which we don't have. And we need stronger checks and balances on the people in Parliament. So they can't just make shit up and get away with it. There has to be some kind of accountability for what they're doing. People would probably say, yeah, but that's the House of Lords. But the House of Lords is bought and paid for. I still think that we need an elected second house like they have in America, and a separation of power as well. So it's not just down to the Parliament passing laws and then that's it, they're passed. But we need another elected chamber, I think, to oversee Parliament, and that could be the checks and balances that keeps them in touch. I know people are probably going to agree with me in the comment sections. These are just some ideas of how we can stop this in the future. I'm not saying my ideas are perfect. They're probably not, and they're probably not achievable. But these are just my opinions. I think we can all agree, though, that the government definitely needs tighter restrictions and tighter controls on what it's able to do to the citizens of this country. At the minute, it can just do what it likes. We've already proven that they can just pass a law and then, yeah, you're subjected to it. Look at recently when they were trying to bring in the two-tier justice system, and it was actually overthrown. That they had to U-turn on that and abolish it. And we won that one. And that was through sheer pressure of the people and the backlash that the government was getting because of that. So that just proved we still have power. We can still influence the government if we really want to on things. And it shouldn't take us, the people, to do that. There should already be an accountability, some kind of accountability, that these sort of laws can't be passed. If you had a Bill of Rights and they tried to pass a two-tier law like that, it should have been in breach of the Bill of Rights and it should never been able to be brought to Parliament. That's what I'm talking about. We need a concrete set of rules that lays out what Parliament can and cannot do to the people of this country. And that's why the Americans have the Constitution. They have constitutional law that protects their rights and their freedoms. That's something that we need in this country, so we don't get another Starmer regime coming along. That's just my thoughts on this anyway. And any up-and-coming party should be pushing for that. A written constitution, a Bill of Rights, and making free speech and free expression written into law. I can take a few lefties shouting obscenities at me because I will be able to shout those obscenities back at them. And that's what we need. People just need to grow thicker skins and accept that you are going to be offended at some point in your life by something that somebody says. And those people shouldn't go to prison just because you're offended by what they've said. And that works both ways, in my opinion. Anyway, I've ranted enough. This is Vindicator. Sign off. Tell me what you think in the comments below about what you think should be done to keep our governments in the future under control.